basically had happened is that they said that all of their numismatic silver coins, including the uncirculated silver coins that they sell, were going up by $9 a piece.
Hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics for this week's silver and gold physical market update with Andy Schekman of Miles Franklin, where we dig into what's happening in the physical silver and gold market each week, so that while there is the wild casino on the COMEX, at least if you want to find out what's going on with actual people who are buying and selling physical silver that actually exists, you can hold in your hands. That's what Andy joins us each week to do. So with that said, Andy Schekman of Miles Franklin, welcome on in today. How are you?
I'm good, Chris. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing quite well and excited to have you on here because there was a story that came out from the U.S. Mint last week, although it was it might have been the afternoon after we talked that morning, but we heard a price of $67, I believe it was, for a U.S. Eagle, and certainly some people got excited. I know, fortunately, we checked in a couple days after, but can you explain to folks what actually happened, what it means, and what is going on?
Yeah, definitely, Chris. It's a good question, and there certainly was a lot of people asking about that. So let's just say that there are three ways to buy a Silver Eagle, okay? The U.S. Mint offers direct purchase availability for two of those three ways. The first way that the U.S. Mint sells silver is to dealers like myself, and those are called commercial strike coins. So they'll take a piece of silver, which is called a planchet, a blank disc, and they will stamp it one time, put it in tubes of 20, and then in boxes of 500, and then send them out to the distributors who then funnel them out to the public, distributors like myself. The second and third way that people can buy silver is directly from the United States Mint. The first way is in a proof coin. They take that same planchet that we just talked about, but instead of punching it one time and putting it in tubes of 20, they punch it 3 times for extended definition, and they buff it under an industrial buffer till you see a mirror-like finish. Then they put it in a velvet box with some fancy paperwork, and they sell it for 2 to 3 times what the value of silver is. That's called a proof coin. It's a collectible. The other way that the U.S. Mint sells Silver Eagles is where the confusion came from. They sell uncirculated Silver Eagles to the public. These Silver Eagles that are uncirculated are more or less the exact same coin that we sell, the commercial strike, except instead of being called commercial strike, they're just called uncirculated, and they're put in a cardboard blue box that has the writing from the U.S. Mint on it and a piece of paper in it, a certificate that makes it a little bit more fancy. In other words, it would be as if you're giving a 1-ounce Silver Eagle as a gift. Now, when you hand someone a gift, just a coin, it doesn't have the impact as coming in a box from the U.S. Mint with fancy writing on it. Now, it's not in the velvet box like the proof coin, but it is a presentation nonetheless. In other words, what you're paying the extra $30 or $40 for those coins, $30, is the box, this little cardboard box that probably costs, and the piece of paper probably costs the U.S. Mint $1 a piece. So what basically had happened is that they said that all of their numismatic silver coins, including the uncirculated silver coins that they sell, were going up by $9 a piece. I believe this just last Monday here. And it was very misleading. The companies that printed this, or the company that ran this story, only said uncirculated Silver Eagles. So most of the public thought, well, geez, the Silver Eagles I've been accumulating all these years are going to go up by $9 a piece, independent of what silver's doing next Monday. That's fantastic. In reality, it was only the U.S. Mint direct purchase uncirculated coins in individually packaged cardboard boxes for gifts or presentation. It has nothing to do whatsoever, Chris, with the coins that all of your listeners and all of our clients have been buying since 1986. I hope that is clear enough.
Very well stated, sir, and thanks for clearing that up, because I know people heard that, I heard it, and everybody was just wondering. I got several emails wondering what was going on. So thank you for shedding some light on that. Anything else about, the U.S. Mint, Silver Eagles? What are the premiums like on Silver Eagles, and how that compares to the highs and lows of where those premiums have been throughout this volatile year?
Yeah, this year is unlike anything I've ever experienced, Chris. If we go back to, let's say, January, when life was on the cusp of changing, it was still relatively normal. Certainly, we had no idea what was in store for us in January. Premiums on a Silver Eagle typically at that point would have been, let's call it $2.79 over the price of silver. By March, we saw the highest premiums I'd ever seen in my career, north of $10 or $11 a piece. And it's really important to understand something. There's a great misnomer and a great misunderstanding that companies like myself make that premium. I would have been buying those Silver Eagles back in March for north of $8.50 a piece. So anyone who had bought Silver Eagles from me in January at $2.69, if silver had done nothing, could have sold them back in March for over $8.50 a piece premium above the silver spot price, which at that time was right around $11 a piece. The premium is a function of supply and demand, has a life unto itself, and the dealers like myself who sell them have very little of any impact on those premiums. It starts way up above to the primary distributors and the mints that actually issue them. Right now, we have premiums on Silver Eagles that I believe, save January, are the best we've seen all year. And the question is, do they go higher or do they fall further? Right now, we can do 2020 Silver Eagles for your listeners as a special that we're promoting directly for Arcadia at $4.79 over the price of silver any quantity. That'll put us as low or lower than anyone in the country on those Silver Eagles. And I guess the real question is it a good value at $4.79? Well, I guess you could look at it from the perspective that it's roughly double what it's always been in normal times and under half of what it's been in crazy times. Where does that put us? What comes next? Does the world get crazier, or does the world find a semblance of normality that drops those premiums down? That's anybody's guess. But I would like something to be understood. When I go out and accumulate, let's call it 25,000 Silver Eagles at these higher premiums, I'm taking participation with our clients in that same ponderance. In other words, I don't know what's coming down the road, but I do know that if I want to have Silver Eagles to sell to the public, I need to pay higher premiums than I'm used to paying for my whole career. And I can't hedge those premiums. I can hedge the metal exposure, but I can't hedge the premiums. I can tell you right now, Chris, that in terms of 1-ounce silver coins, whether we're talking Eagles, Maples, Philharmonics, Kangaroos, Britannias, I have them all in stock. I have a greater supply right now than I've had at any time in the entire year because I wanted this in anticipation of the election. And in every single example, including silver rounds and junk silver and everything I'm buying from distributors, mints, and the public, I'm paying higher premiums than I ever have, with the exception of earlier this year. So none of that premium can be hedged. I, too, believe we're going to see higher silver prices. I, too, believe we're going to see greater demand and higher premiums, enough to make me want to load up on physical inventory at high premiums, higher premiums. So I guess in a nutshell,
you're like a Hunt brother.
Yeah, well, maybe I am. I don't know what their conviction was. I certainly have a ton of conviction personally and professionally and want to be able to take care of my clients, because I think the last half of this year, and we're already almost there, I really do believe, in my own opinion, is going to be dynamic. And I think that, when we look at what we've seen over the last several years, things have moved up in a systematic way, and in a straight line way, so to speak. I think that the second half of this year is going to bring, chaos theory, maybe more accelerated movements, like we saw in July, where silver went up $10 in the blink of an eye. That's my opinion. And with that, overnight would come massively higher premiums. So, the bottom line is this, Chris. Premiums are I think are fair right now in relation to what we see around us in a world that's gone mad around us. So, they've been lower and they've been much higher, but availability is good. It's all in stock. Premiums are fair, and I'm offering to your listeners what I believe in any quantity is going to be the lowest or really darn close to the lowest price in North America. And so I think it's still a good value.
Yeah, Andy, well, that's actually really fascinating. Everything you're mentioning there reminded me a bit of my old option trading days where, especially when you get to your option Greeks, you're really analyzing. There's a variety of different risk parameters that all interact in their own unique and exciting ways, and talking about how, yes, there is the price variance of the metal, but also the premium. And that's interesting that essentially you're getting long premium deltas, which I will have fun thinking about more over the weeks and months to come. Two questions on what you said there. I don't even know which one to do first. Well, let's stick with what's important to people listening, more so because I know a lot of people wondered, all right, when they heard that premiums were up and wondered, can they actually sell their metal and get that bid above spot? I don't know. I don't want to speak for other dealers. There's a lot of other good dealers out there, and there's some that aren't, but let's stay focused with what you were doing. If premiums spike again, will people actually be able, if they have silver now, will they be able to sell it and get that premium above spot?
Yes, sir, 100%. That's something that I'm, very proud of. Typically, we have the highest bid prices in America. We pass on that premium to the public. And the interesting thing about it, however, is that in these premium spike environments, no one ever sells a nickel. No one ever sells an ounce, ever. It's really strange because typically the higher premiums come with higher anxiety, like we saw in March. I mean, it was a scary time, whether you're trying to, acquire food, toilet paper, bottled water, or precious metals. It was a high anxiety time where people's primary concern was, how fast can you get this to me? And so the answer is yes. When premiums are spiking, we will be glad to pass along that premium to people who are selling, because it typically comes with an environment of low supply, high demand, and those high premiums are a function of accelerated demand in a diminishing supply environment. So it goes against human nature to sell at those high premiums. People are getting validation at that point that, hey, I'm not crazy, that the world is frightening. Look at what's happening with the metals. So, yes, Chris, I will gladly offer all of your listeners and anyone out there listening this the highest bid price in America on what they want to sell. And it will be over spot on every silver item that they want to sell that is, right now, just about every silver item in the world is trading above spot on bid. And when those really accentuate, my guess is that, I'm sorry?
Randy, just so like if someone has Britannias right now, they can get over spot for those?
100%. Yes, absolutely. No question about it. In fact, let me see if I can real quick tell you what that would be. Bear with me 1 second. The Silver Britannia bid price would be somewhere around, I think, about $1.85 over the price of silver, really close to that number. I can't pull it up as we speak. I see what the other coins in the neighborhood are, but roughly $1.85 over, right in that neighborhood. And so, yeah, we pass on the premium to people who want to sell. Absolutely.
And I might just add that if somebody does want bid prices, you can find out information, get quotes without any pressure to do anything by contacting Miss Yara at arcadia@milesfranklin.com. You know, and I know you've talked about this before, but something I'll mention again, that long before I was involved doing stuff with you, I was sitting there writing about silver and owning silver and learning about silver. And then it was nice the way things developed here, you know, because on one hand, I get to provide analysis of the market, which I think is fun. And then also on the back end, create a place where if people have questions or if they are looking to do something, they can get that answered. And I thank you for also helping to supply some of the information that goes there. Because it is a bit of an intriguing field to get into. How do people know they're getting real metals? And anyway, so I appreciate you coming on each week and letting people get to know you, that you're not just some guy that doesn't exist, but you've been there for a while. And one other question that I would love to get your perspective on in terms of premiums. I think you mentioned over the last couple of years a few times that premiums on numismatics were low. And again, to be clear, numismatics is different than just buying silver. And to a large degree, I usually get, you know, the lower cost silver. I like, you know, if you have income coming in regularly, some people, and myself included, cash available, and you see what's on sale. And if you're doing that over time, you get a nice mix of stuff at good prices. So obviously, numismatics, you know, if you don't like going to coin shops or reading coin books, probably not where you want to make your core bet. But for folks who do like getting into that, where are the premiums on numismatics at right now?
You know, it's interesting. I think that you're right. If you want the biggest bang for the buck, it's not in numismatics. When we talk about silver numismatics, it's a little bit different than gold numismatics. I'll simply say this, that if someone wants to strike a balance between silver content and numismatics, or numismatic to me, for your listeners who aren't quite sure what that means, is it's a collectible coin, and it's where the value of the coin is largely attributed to the scarcity or rarity of a coin, or the attributes in terms of its condition and its rarity. There are two coins that I would tell people that they should accumulate if they want to have a strike and balance between quantity and numismatic properties, and really just really cool pieces of Americana. And that would be the Morgan silver dollar and the Peace silver dollar. Many people don't know this, but silver dollars were minted, the Morgan silver dollar, from the late 1800s to 1904. And they stopped. From 1905 to 1920, there were no silver dollars made in the United States. In 1921, they started making the Morgan silver dollar again for half a year and stopped, and then made the Peace silver dollar from the second half of 21 to 1936. And that's when it ended, Chris. None of the silver dollars, like the Eisenhower that maybe your grandparents gave you when you were a kid for gifts or what have you, none of those had silver in them. They're worth $1. So if you want to have a piece of Americana that was in someone's pocket 100 years ago, or buy them in uncirculated condition at a price and certified by PCGS or NGC, which are the acronyms for the Professional Coin Grading Service and the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation. Those are third-party companies that do nothing other than standardize the industry through certification and grading. you can buy Peace and Morgan silver dollars at a reasonable price, and they're really very, very cool. They tell an amazing story. They make amazing gifts, and they are way, way, way undervalued compared to where they have been previously. I would argue the gold numismatics have taken off more than the silver numismatics have. There is a sweet spot there. There is potential. But I would tell people this, that to me, it is not the vanilla ice cream in a hot fudge sundae. That's junk silver, dimes and quarters. That's 1 ounce silver coins like the American Eagle or the Maple Leaf or the Britannia. It's silver bars. A little bit of hot fudge or some sprinkles is not a bad idea on that sundae, and that would be the Peace and the Morgan dollars. Again, I'm just always trying to build an analogy there for people to understand.
I loved
it.
It was beautiful, man.
All right. Well, thank you. I really love those coins, and I think anyone who owns some of them will fall in love with them as well. They're amazing pieces of American history, and they're not too expensive, and they are cheaper than where they always have been. So yeah, if you're going to spend $2,000, put $1,800 into silver bullion, put $200 into these, and that's a nice way to build a portfolio that's not only bullion heavy but diverse and rich in premium potential and in history. And quite frankly, Chris, you know what I found over the years is that owning silver and gold is not just an investment. It can become a hobby. It can become a passion. There are so many ways to take it past just protecting your family, actually enjoying it. And the Morgan and Peace dollars would be at the top of my list of that. So good question.
And those would, but I mean, what about the U.S. Treasuries, Andy? I mean, I hear those are a great deal these days. People wouldn't. What
they are.
Say to someone who's looking at those two choices.
Well, I guess if you want to buy a U.S. Treasury paying 0.6% with real interest rates being negative, factored against inflation, I guess if you had $20 billion and didn't know where to put your money, maybe that becomes somewhat appealing. But when I look around me, Chris, one of the things that I internally struggle with on a habitual basis and make sure that I keep checking myself is being objective. I try so hard to be objective because I think people that are not objective are transparent and phony and full of crap. And it's really easy to see that. I've mentioned before that a few years ago I had a company come into my office to go through the motions in an attempt to offer a price to buy Miles Franklin. I went through the exercise out of eagerness to learn what it would be like to go through that. And I turned them down, and I asked myself, what would I do with a large sum of money if I had it, if I did sell the company, which I don't want to and don't plan on doing. But if I did, what would I do with the money? And I kept coming back to the same place, that I'd buy more gold and silver. Being objective is important. And when I look around me, I don't see places that I would want to myself park my money. Certainly not in treasuries or in fixed income. Certainly not in a stock market that is wickedly overvalued with an economy that is completely detached from it and is getting worse, especially with winter coming. And not in real estate. I don't know where to put my money anywhere. I know some people will say cryptos. That's not for me, respectfully. I don't see anywhere that I would rather put my money besides gold and silver. And when you look at silver, it is the most appealing of the choices due to the fact that it is historically undervalued in relation to gold, which I still think is undervalued in relation to the money supply and to other assets. So, look, anyone who would put their money into treasuries at this point, if they're not incredibly wealthy, I think it's a fool's errand. And I say that to you because, imagine you're a corporation with tons and tons and tons and tons of money that you have to safeguard somehow. A corporation's not going to really be able to put their money in silver, but to put it in treasuries, they'd probably be happy getting back 98% of their money guaranteed. than risk it to speculation elsewhere. So it's an interesting time. It's an interesting phenomenon. But for most of us on Main Street, putting your money into treasuries is a fool's errand. You're guaranteed to have confiscation of your wealth, guaranteed, by at least 2-3%. When it comes to silver, not only are you buying an undervalued asset wholeheartedly, but you also have all of the intangibles that come along with it. The privacy, the safety and protection against a falling stock market, as precious metals are really the only inversely correlated asset anymore to the U.S. stock market. It used to be that bonds were inversely correlated. They used to say risk on, risk off, bonds being risk off. But with interest rates where they are right now, if interest rates rise, people will realize that bonds indeed are not risk off. So, yeah, Chris, I think that
return-free risk.
An important point. Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think that's an important point to make, that here again goes back to trying to be objective. Objectively think about this. Where do you put your money that has safety, privacy, and upside potential? There are very few places you can say that they're not wickedly overvalued already. Silver also is undervalued dramatically. So, you talk silver all day, and I own a precious metals company. And people may think we lack objectivity, but I swear to you, it is my singular focus. Always try to be objective, because I can't get behind something. I can't get online and face the trolls and the blowback. This guy's full of crap. If I weren't completely and totally objective about what I see, and if people out there can show me and tell me a better place to put my money, I would equally listen to it. And I think silver and gold, and silver to a much higher degree, are the places to have your money right now. And that I do mean 100%.
Well, Andy, I'll take that one step further, where I guess it's been interesting for me as the show has grown this year, learning that some people are going to like what you do, some aren't. I do always promise integrity, and I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone wants to know how things work or why we're doing what we're doing. Although, even better than that, I'm thrilled. In fact, we talked about it a little when I was in Minnesota. It's something that is next on my list to get to, is buying gold. If anyone works for a We Buy Gold shop or a pawn shop, that's one of my next steps, to begin reaching out to a lot of these places. So, that's how the business works. Ideally, it's like if you get the order flow and you're capturing it both ways. So, I get, and I think it's good that people question things. I encourage that. In fact, I think that's good, because there is stuff out there that isn't perhaps as advertised. But anyway, I know that we are happy to buy metals. You can find out all about that at arcadia@milesfranklin.com. And really just, at least the way I look at it, is trying to do good business, help people who already want to buy or sell find a way to do that. Andy, can you mention one more time the special on the American Eagles?
Yeah, $4.79 over on 2020 Silver Eagles. And remember that this is the last year of the original design of Silver Eagles that have been in design since 1986. They've already come out with a new design. It's really cool. And it comes out in 2021. I have had numerous people, including some very high net worth people, that are convinced that 2020 coins like the Silver Eagle will be highly sought after collectible items, because it is the end of a era in this particular design. So yeah, we have them in stock, 2020s, $4.79 over in any quantity. And, of course, as always, Chris, a portion of all of these sales will go back to Arcadia to continue helping not only show our appreciation for our relationship here, but also because it's people like you that are doing good things, that are shining a light on this industry. And we're seeing younger people for the first time embrace silver, and we're seeing a larger swath of people embrace these alternatives and look at the logic behind it, because you're doing such a good job of explaining this to people. Most of these people who are awakening to the fact that, yeah, our stock prices are going way up, but hey, we're valuing it in a declining currency. They're beginning to realize that the governments are destroying their currencies right out from underneath them. So, these are challenging times, and people are waking up and realizing a hard truth, a truth that they've never realized before, even as their stock portfolios are saying something different. They're realizing that it's not genuine, and it's in large part to information disseminated from people like you. And that's why we're happy to give back to the community and happy to give back to Arcadia, and honored to be part of what you're doing wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and on top of that, I'm going to give back 2 of those American Silver Eagles to our incredible Arcadian audience. So if you would like to win one of those 2 2020 American Silver Eagles, Andy, right? We've got the 2020s, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
all right,
sir.
So take this interview, hit that share button, go to Twitter. You got to find, I think it's at Miles Franklin. Is that right? You know what your Twitter handle is?
It is, and I'll up that for you. I'll up that for you as long as it goes through you. Let's make it 5, and I'll contribute 5 Silver Eagles to your listeners. Anyone that writes you, whatever you want them to say or how you want it to do, you just let me know. We'll get those 5 shipped out.
Well, folks, go to Twitter, find Miles Franklin, and I am at Arcadia Economic. We couldn't fit the S in there. But tag it to those 2, send the link with this interview out to those 2 addresses, and looks like we have a total of 7 American Eagles ready to go out the door, and this way we can also spread the knowledge and things you're sharing, Andy, which I appreciate. And folks, if you're watching at home, and if you're wondering if the next time gold goes over the $2,000 per mark ounce, will we have seen the last time it is below 2,000? Well, that is coming your way now.